Hi, my name is Mobeen Ansari and I am from Pakistan.
मुबीन अंसारी 30 साल की उम्र है, लेकिन अल्हम्दुलिल्लाह इतना टैलेंट है कि इस उम्र में भी इनको वन ऑफ पाकिस्तान टॉप फोटोग्राफर्स कंसिडर किया जाता है।
He's young, he's ambitious, he's driven, he's done a lot in his young age.
This is Dubai Eye 103.8.
We're in conversation this hour with acclaimed photojournalist, artist and filmmaker Mobeen Ansari.
I have always been a student of art, and photography is something that ran in parallel, because I was always very introverted as a child due to my hearing impairment. But that was a blessing in disguise because that helped me sharpen my observation more, and I always wished to capture things in a better light. And so I was always making sculptures since a very young age. As a painter, I understood the subtleties of lighting. My portraits are largely inspired by Rembrandt. So I try to incorporate style of Rembrandt work in my painting. And through painting, I understand texture. I understand more about human nature, about using different shades of light, different color palettes, and also to try and create surreal scenes, in real life. And through photographs, I would also become a better painter. As a photographer, when I picked up a camera, I was able to tell those stories. When I make conversation, I can't make oral conversation or that well, to be honest. So I let my photograph do my talking. Each of my photographs depict a different chapter of my life, or whether it is memories or whether it is something that reflects what happened at some point of my life, Whether it's somebody else's portrait, I would reflect my own self in this.
I remember a time when we were in Hunza, a lot of years ago when we were in Pakistan. We were traveling together and he was the guy who used to wake me up 5 in the morning to take sunrise shots. I still remember those shots. He is so dedicated. When he has something in mind, he has to do it. When he has a sunrise shot in mind, he is going to wake up at 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, whatever it takes to get that shot.
My grandmother and my grandfather both were photographers, and they have captured some of the most intense moments in history. I will always remember a picture that my grandmother took when she migrated from India to Pakistan, and her journey was by sea. So when she got to Kemari, to Karachi port, so she could take a picture of the lots of people who had just come to the new land, and you could see the emotion even in that tiny photograph. And now, her grandfather had taken a picture of the founding father of Pakistan, Muhammad Ali Jinnah. So it's a lot of history on that side of family, and he was very close to Jinnah. In all my solo and group exhibitions, I had always been following a specific theme, But somehow, something always felt missing. I could not entirely get the message through. And thanks to W2W Events, who really supported me. I have my first show here in UAE. and it allowed me to get a whole reflection of my career. It's an amazing opportunity to connect with a global audience because it allows me to see who interprets which photograph, who looked at which photograph the most, who connects with which photograph the most, and that's very interesting to see in different parts. And the Exposure Festival in Sharjah was interesting to connect with other photographers from around the world. Exposure Festival was a privilege to be a part of because there were photographers from around the world and I learned so much.
The best thing about his photography is the lighting, the way he captures the light, and especially one source of light and how he exposes the whole picture out of it. It's amazing the way he uses it.
काम बहुत अच्छा है और जो फोटोग्राफ्स हैं कुछ तो बहुत आउटस्टैंडिंग है। अच्छा लाइट एंड शेड का जो इफेक्ट आया है वो बहुत बहुत अच्छा लग रहा है देख करके।
He's one of the few photographers who inspired me to come into professional photography.
मेरे मैनेजर असलान ने कहा कि दिस यंग आर्टिस्ट जो हैं वो आपकी तस्वीरें खींचना चाहते हैं। मैंने कहा यार मेकअप वेकअप नहीं कर रहा मैं, शेव वेव जैसे अभी बड़ी हुई है वैसे बड़ी थी, मगर आके उन्होंने वैसे ही खड़े खड़े तस्वीरें खींची मेरी और ब्लैक एंड वाइट में, फिर उन्होंने मुझे भिजवाई एंड आई वाज अमेज्ड।
First, I do a lot of research about the people I photograph or I already know about them, and if I don't know them, if it's a person I know who is very busy, so I would make sure to say that your photo shoot will only last 15 minutes. And I go without a crew, I go alone, so that there's a one-to-one connection. And I always, always keep a dialogue first. Out of those 15 minutes, 8 minutes are spent on conversation. So I make the person comfortable, and while I'm talking, I'm looking at the spots around their house or their office or place of work and calculating the light, where am I going to place them. And while I'm talking, and that's when I make them comfortable, and midway through the conversation, I take photographs if I find something interesting. And I finally have Nancy with me. So how's your experience? This has been a 7-year-long project for me, and it's a pleasure to finally shoot you. So I know we shot in under 10 minutes. So
I think you're doing a great job. Thank you for appreciating all the heroes, and especially the unsung heroes. And what you're doing, not everybody is doing it. So I would like to just tell you that, you're the man with the difference and with the class.
So I primarily use two kinds of photographs, or two lenses when photographing a person. One is a wide lens and one is a zoom or a portrait lens that I use. Both of these lenses tell a different story. For example, if I go to Hunza, in a location where life is very, very tough, so I would using a wide lens, I would capture capture an old lady in front of her house. If I use a wide angle lens, I can see her house, I can see maybe she put a modest carpet out front, or I can even see the sky, I can see the mountains. And with a zoom lens, I can focus on her wrinkles, on her smile, or other stories. So this is how I tell the stories. Sometimes I tell the stories in their elements. For example, I photographed the famous cricketer Wasim Akram in front of his awards, in front of his books, and I asked him to sit as if he was sitting on a throne, because he was the Sultan of Swing. So I wanted to sort of really give that kind of image to him. So it depends on who I'm photographing. So working with celebrities on both sides of the border felt no different from the other. The only difference was that in India, when I photographed Nasiruddin Shah, I found out that he's a relative of mine. So it was more heartening that way. And I mean, I learned about humility. I learned about so many things that tie us together. So Wakhan is a village in Afghanistan, and it's very remote. And so there is a place called Wakhan Corridor, which used to be a trade corridor in the British time. It is wedged between Afghanistan, Tajikistan and Pakistan. I had a trek to Wakhan Corridor with a group, and the first time I went early on in the season, and the end point of the trek is a lake called Karumbal Lake. And that was one of the highest alpine lakes in the world, and at that time it was frozen. And what happened is that on day 3 my back started to get really bad, because at that time the camera bag that I had no chest support, and the strap were not very ideal, so my shoulders were falling. And the thing is, when your back goes bad, then everything goes bad. You start to get fever, you start to get everything wrong. And I felt that at that point 3 things could happen. Either I would make it through the night, and the next morning I would make it to the lake, and the second thing, maybe a climber would come and rescue me, which I was really praying for, or third, which seemed most likely, that I would die right here, because temperatures were not ideal, my breathing was shallow, I could not, because I could see my whole life flash before my eyes, and so I just closed my eyes, and then suddenly after 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, who knows, I just opened my eyes and I decided to go. I ran without a torch. It was pitch black almost. I don't know how I made it, but I was jumping over streams, and at night streams current keeps rising, and then I got to a point where I could see a torch shining, and that was Zafar himself. And Zafar was trapped, because we couldn't go out of any ridge, because the water currents had already risen so much. And so Zafar said to me, we're going to die right here, But I was feeling very calm and serene, and I was delirious, I had been vomiting, and I didn't know what to do. And I was without food for 12 hours. And so there was a voice in my head which told me to look south. So I don't know, in that state, I didn't know what south was. So I looked at the North Star, which is the brightest star, and looked at the opposite direction, and I sat down, kept reciting prayers, but I was mumbling. And after a few minutes, a torch started shining across the ridge. A climber had come to rescue us, and he started shining the torch, and Zafar had the torch. So we started following the torch sign. He was holding me, and ultimately we came together, and we got to the lake camp after half an hour. But honestly, the passage of time was something I do not recall at this time. But this day changed my life forever. It made me more grateful for each moment.
Mahmud, you see this. This is a cover of my book called Dharkan, the Heartbeat of the Nation. That's not the reason I've chosen this as the cover, which I'm going to tell you. When the Taliban entered into Swat from Afghanistan, this is the first door they broke into. They started terrorism, they exploited the culture of hospitality, and they broke here.
So in Pakistan flag, the green is for Muslims and the white is for non-Muslims. And so this is the white is to do a portrayal of their lives and festivities. People always look at Pakistan as one-dimensional. When it is home to a lot of civilization, lots of history. Also that there's a lot of religious diversity. We over there we have one of the most sacred places of Sikhism. Places where the Buddhist community also say the prayer, that pilgrimage in Takhtabai in Mobeen. And so I wanted to showcase all of that and also celebrate the religious community as part of our fabric of our society.
जो फोटोग्राफर होता है, मेरा बड़ा भाई भी है नईम अकरम, इज ऑल्सो वेरी गुड, बट दिस गाय इज ऑल्सो समथिंग वेरी डिफरेंट. जिस तरह से कैप्चर करते हैं, मोमेंट को कैप्चर करते हैं, लाइट को कैप्चर करते हैं, जो कि एक आर्ट है और ये मुबीन में है. और इनकी एक नई किताब आ रही है, वाइट इन द फ्लैग, मतलब है माइनॉरिटीज़ पे. बड़ा ज़बरदस्त सब्जेक्ट है. और जिस तरह इस किताब का नाम है, आई कैन प्रॉमिस यू कि मैंने इनका काम बड़ा सराहा है, बहुत देखा है और अभी भी देखता हूँ एवरी टाइम. और ये सोशल मीडिया बड़े एक्टिव हैं, सो मैं उनको फॉलो भी करता हूँ. और आज उसकी लॉन्च है, इनको मुबारकबाद दूंगा एंड विश हिम ऑल द लक. एंड आई एम श्योर कि द बुक विल डू वेल. अगर ऐसा मुबीन जैसा आर्टिस्ट पीछे हो जो कि बड़ा कम पैदा होता है, आई थिंक इल डू वेल एंड आई विल बी देयर इंशाल्लाह एज वेल.
ऐसे हमारे पाकिस्तान के अंदर अक़लियतों को बहुत अच्छी ऊँची निगाह से देखा जाता है. अब अक़लियतों में हिंदू हैं, फारसी हैं, मेघवार हैं, बहुत सी जाते हैं. हम इनको बहुत मान की इज्जत से देखते हैं और इनकी इज़्ज़त करते हैं और इनके तमाम हुकूकों का ख्याल करते हैं. ये हमारा उसूल है. मोबीन अंसारी जो अक़लियतों के ऊपर एक किताब लिख रहे हैं, मैं इनको बहुत वेलकम करता हूँ और अक़लियतों का हमेशा हर जगह पे ध्यान रख रहा हूँ.
बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम. मैं मोबीन अंसारी को मुबारक देना चाहता हूँ. उनकी जो दूसरी किताब है वाइट इन द फ्लैग माइनॉरिटीज़ के ऊपर जो किताब है, उससे पहले इन्होंने धड़कन किताब लिखी थी, किताब तस्वीरें ली थी. तो उनको मुबारक देना चाहता हूँ इसलिए कि ये वक्त है पाकिस्तान में कि हम अपनी अक़लियतें, माइनॉरिटीज़, उनको वो उसी तरह उनको देखें जैसे हम सब इंसानों को देखते हैं. सब मुसलमान या जो भी किसी का दीन हो, सब एक हैं कानून के मुताबिक और सब एक ही दर्जे के शहरी हैं. और यही हमारे नबी सल्लल्लाहु अलैहि वसल्लम उनका जो मदीना की रियासत में रवैया था दूसरे मज़हब के लोगों से, और कायद आज़म की जो तकरीर थी और जो कायद आज़म का वादा था अक़लियतों से, उसी के ऊपर पाकिस्तानियों को पूरी तरह अमल करना चाहिए. हम बदकिस्मती से वो हमारे में उनके हकूक़ की हिफाजत हम नहीं करते, अपनी अक़लियतों की जो हमें करना चाहिए. और ये हम सब के लिए बायस एक शर्म की बात है कि वैसी अक़लियतें बहुत कम तादाद में हैं पाकिस्तान में और हम उनकी भी सही तरह उनका ध्यान नहीं रखते. तो मैं इनको मोबीन अंसारी को ख़ास तौर पे मुबारक देना चाहता हूँ कि इन्होंने पूरी एक किताब माइनॉरिटीज़ के ऊपर वाइट इन द फ्लैग लिखी है और इंशाल्लाह इनको कामयाबी होगी।
जो लोग पाकिस्तान की बेहतरी के लिए काम कर रहे हैं उनकी एक प्रोफाइल बना के, उनकी फ़ोटोग्राफ्स बना के, जमा करके आप सबको दिखाना चाह रहे हैं, ताकि पाकिस्तान का ये जो इमेज है कि पाकिस्तान में कुछ नहीं रखा, पाकिस्तान में सिर्फ टेररिज्म है, पाकिस्तान में सिर्फ गुर्बत है, जो कि है, लेकिन सिर्फ बुराइयां नहीं हैं पाकिस्तान में। पाकिस्तान में बहुत सारी अच्छी चीज़ें हैं और वो सब कलेक्ट करके मोबीन अंसारी हमको दे रहे हैं। सो आई होप यू एंजॉय इट।
मैंने माहिरा खान को सुना इतनी अच्छी बात करते हुए मोबीन के बारे में, मोबीन अंसारी के बारे में, दैट जैसे कुछ नहीं है पाकिस्तान में। सब कहते हैं कि जब हम बाहर जाते हैं, मैं तो रहता ही हूँ बाहर, मुझे पता है लोग यही कहते हैं क्या रखा है पाकिस्तान में, लेकिन मैं तो माहिरा खान ने कहा कि सिर्फ बुराई नहीं है, बहुत अच्छी चीज़ें होती हैं, विच इज़ ब्यूटीफुल व्हाट द वे शी सेड इट। लेकिन मैं यहाँ सेल्फिश होके मैं कुछ कहूँगा कि एज अ आर्टिस्ट और सारे आर्टिस्ट की तरफ से कि मैं सोचता था हमेशा कि पता नहीं मैं जब नहीं रहूँगा इस दुनिया में तो क्या लोग मुझे याद करेंगे, याद रखेंगे। इस वक्त मुझे मोबीन से मिलने के बाद, उसकी फ़ोटोग्राफी देखने के बाद मुझे ऐसा एहसास हुआ उसका जो प्लान है, जो बुक वो निकालेंगे, और तो मैं इत्मीनान हूँ कि मैं जब नहीं भी होऊंगा इस दुनिया में फिर भी लोग मुझे देखेंगे, जानेंगे मोबीन की वजह से।
To see him do this book, complete this book, makes me feel absolutely amazing.
I think we've totally been a part of his journey.
Yeah.
And he's been a part of our journey. हम remember him since he was this big.
सर हम अपने बच्चों के लिए रोटी कमाते हैं, सुबह जब काम से निकलते हैं तो हमारे को पता नहीं होता घर वापस आना है कि नहीं होना।
I was beyond touch, and this was my first film. It was a very ambitious project, a 10-minute film, silent, short, black and white, no dialogue at all, and it was a subject matter that was very difficult to portray, because a lot of people would react differently to it. And this was a subject matter that I don't think a lot of people have spoken about before, because this covers a profession which is invisible, and to make the invisible visible was the first time experience for me. And 6 months went into the filming. We were just a crew of 2 people shooting for 6 months, myself and my rental car driver, who I made the assistant as well. So he would do cut, action, he would do that. And so for 6 months we went around, we told the story, and then I sent it to as many film festivals as I could, not knowing how it would be received. And I'm very fortunate that just very touched that this film is still being screened at film festivals. A lot of festivals are still asking to be screened, and to have received those awards, I'm beyond touch. With Imran Khan, the first time I met him was in 1992 actually, when he was making the Shakoor Cancer Hospital, and he was connecting donations from school, and I was in that school, so I was chosen as the boy to sort of greet him. So that was my first meeting, and then I met him for the second time in 2009. I was part of Shakoor Khan fundraiser Iftari, and he came late to the Iftari. I think he was rushed, and he actually came and sat next to me. He was on the same table as me. I was, oh my goodness, and I was taking portraits again and again and again, but I familiarized myself with him. And the third time was when I actually properly photographed him for a magazine. and so then by then he knew who I was, and the fourth time I met him was to record his endorsement message for White in the Flag, and he remembered the book, he remembered the message, and it was very heartening to know that.
अक्सर जब हम पाकिस्तान से बाहर जाते हैं तो सुनने को यही मिलता है कि पाकिस्तान में रखा क्या है, यहाँ के लोग क्या कर रहे हैं, इसमें तो कुछ भी नहीं है। फिर जब हम पाकिस्तान में वापस आते हैं या ख़ुद कभी बैठ के बात करते हैं तब भी वही बातें सुनने को मिलती हैं कि पाकिस्तान में रखा क्या है। मुबीन अंसारी जैसे लोग पाकिस्तान में हैं।
आर्टिस्ट हैं, फोटोग्राफर हैं, सोशल, मैं तो कहता हूँ टेक्नोलॉजी के बेस पे सोशल चेंज में बिलीव करते हैं, बिहेवियर्स को चेंज करने में बिलीव करते हैं। मोहतरम मुबीन अंसारी आज मेरे साथ मौजूद हैं। अस्सलाम वालेकुम।
वालेकुम अस्सलाम, थैंक यू फॉर हैविंग मी। मुझे ये लगता है कि पाकिस्तान ऐसा मुल्क है जिसमें बहुत सारे मुल्क हैं, बहुत सारी ज़ुबानें हैं, बहुत सारी कल्चर्स हैं, अक़लियतें हैं। हमें उसको भी उसकी खुशी मनानी चाहिए, हमें उसको सेलिब्रेट करें हम, और अपनी आइडेंटिटी को बिल्कुल ही सेलिब्रेट करें।